Hello, everybody, and welcome to another one of my streams. I am Roger Hanson, and I'd like to welcome everybody here. Um, this is my topic on strangeness. And before I get started, I'd like to welcome anybody who would wish to come in and join my stream. Um, if you would like to do that, I have my Jitsi link posted uh, on my freaking profile for my Jitsi. I also have a chat, which is 24/7 live TV with or live stream TV is what it's supposed to be, but it says live TV with Roger Hanson in Minds Chat. And if you guys want to go in there, you can go in there and join the conversation. We usually have conversations before and after each stream, about stuff that we've talked about and things like that. So it's a good way of getting a behind the scenes look at what's going on there. I also post my schedule on my profile as well as in that chat. So if you guys want to know what I'm doing on each specific day, then you can do that. Find it there or on my profile too. Um, and with that being said, I will start the chat going or the stream going now. The or one thought that I did have was if Karma Love showed up, I wanted to kind of go over some of the stuff that she's been talking about on a lot of my streams. And if she did, then we could discuss that. But I also wanted to pull up some of my notes on some things that pertain to that. And if she didn't show up for the stream, which is kind of rare, but I have some things I could do on there too. Hello.
Hi,
Hey you.
how are you?
All right. So you ready to do this?
Yeah, I'm always ready to listen.
No, I was gonna have you talk a little bit about some of the stuff that you've been discussing with me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool.
Kind of go through that, and if you want to, you can just kind of say it in your own words without any interruptions, or we can just have a conversation about it either way.
Whatever makes you feel more comfortable. Like if I say something that strikes a peak of interest, it to me would be fine and just like better for me too. If you like kind of ping pong off of that, I guess you know what I mean. Like if it's
Yeah.
something that you feel like you have something to say about, I'd rather know more than less. Because sometimes if we wait to the end, we might forget something.
Okay, so we can do that. What what kind of or what topic would be the best for you to start out with? What you'd like to talk about?
Well, I remember you were saying something about the pineal gland. I even made sure I had a little bit of like just actual data, quote unquote, just in case. But for me, in regards to the third eye, I today was the first time I read something that said that it's something that no longer is present inside of our bodies. I had no clue that this was what was being pushed, just given the fact that it's very much still present, and it is actually how most people get their information. And people who are aware of its usage and aware of its power, they often use it to channel. Like for me, I a little bit of telepath. I would like to say I'm a little bit of a telepath, but I mean I can hear people who are not talking directly to me. I can kind of answer questions. Very connected and tuned to the spiritual realm, but that's through actual decalcifying of the pineal gland, because the pineal gland is basically our projection onto the world. So we see our eyes. What are our two eyes that we have are what is watching the movie that we create, and our pineal gland is what's creating the movie. So from birth, we are actually, just because of how powerful it is, the process of calcification actually happens to where we're like our insulin fluoride, certain types of food, just the lack of certain type of information, even our exchanges on social media, all of these things start to hinder our pineal gland, start to calcify it. And with it being calcified, is basically it's clouded. Your judgment is clouded. Excuse me. Your mentality is clouded. You're very easy to be manipulated, easily to be controlled. So we calcify, and I say we by basically powers that be, because yeah, but we calcify your pineal gland in order for you to become more submissive. If I'm able to control it's in the center of your brain, and it's the part of your brain that does, I'd like to say everything, but it's responsible for everything. It's responsible for how you feel. It's responsible for your reception of your feelings, your interpretation of your feelings, how you project those feelings, what you're able to manifest. We hear manifest a lot. The pineal gland plays a significant role in manifestations as well, because it's your think process. It's a matter of what you're absorbing and what you're able to resonate with.
Now, um, before you go further and everything, just so people who are listening to us can understand, could you kind of clarify what calci, calci, however how did you say that again?
Calcification.
Cal,
Okay,
yeah.
so calcifying, like I said, is kind of like clouding it. I'm going to tell you the exact definition, but
Like
it's clouding.
just in your own
Calcification is
words, like the
it's the
process.
accumulation of salt. And
Oh,
so with that, but it's the accumulation of salt in body tissues and in other places besides just the tissues, but your brain is one of your biggest. And so with calcification, it also it just causes you to cloud. It clouds your judgment. It clouds the way you think. It makes you less powerful. You have the power to move your mind. Like you guys, it's funny because when we were talking about them building the pyramids, and you're like, yeah, there's something they cannot even fathom. But before, and then they were like, there has to be some type of technology. But the technology is us. We are the technology. We're the technology that, quote unquote, new age technology is attempting to mimic, attempting to replicate, but you don't have to resort to having a chip inside of your brain to have infinite amounts of knowledge. You don't have to resort to like robots in order for them to perform like your most highest desire. Like you are the creation of that. The thing about it is, with calcification, like I said, it's just clouding your judgment. Calcification means to kind of put a bunch of filler over it, and just to where it's like it's foggy. So think of it as like a crystal ball, and then I throw my fog, or I throw my dust, which would be me twerking online. I throw that on there, and then I throw some porn on top of it, and then I throw pedophilia on top of it. I throw fast money on top of it. I throw the need for money and the relevance of money being everything. I throw all of that on top of your crystal ball. You don't have your crystal ball anymore. You have the stuff that I've thrown on top of it. Well, if I
right.
can make the stuff that I've thrown on top of your crystal ball present self as more appealing and more susceptible or acceptable, then it becomes to where the crystal ball becomes irrelevant. Why use the crystal ball if I feel like this is better? And the only reason you feel like this is better is because I first clouded your crystal ball before I told you it was better. You would not believe me that it was better if your crystal ball was still crystal, i.e., me, and then you're throwing this in my face, and I'm like, no, I know better. No, I know better. But people are only able to be controlled if they do not know better. So I have to make all the benefits of being super, super rich be presented to you and show you how great it is to be, quote unquote, on top of the world, even though some of the richest people in the world are not really on top of the world. Everyone's susceptible to anyone else's plan, if you will, as much as you allow your energy to intercept. Because we're energy beings, because we're exchanges of currency, like your energy is your highest form of currency. What people are used to being as currency, gold, diamonds, money, or that's currency in the most minimum form. Whereas your energy exchanges and who you choose to interact with, who you choose to allow within your cipher, who you choose to just absorb that is actually your highest form of currency. That's your energy, your state of being, and it puts you in your state of being. It presents you and it encourages you to be a certain type of person. And if you're influenced by everything on the outside, outsourcing is what it's called. But if you're outsourcing for everything that you are on the inside, you have no clue of who you are on the inside. This is what causes so much where people be like, oh, I'm having a midlife crisis. People only have midlife crisis because they are not living their life to the fullest from the beginning. They start to see things clearer. Experience breeds learning results and learned results. And as a result, of experience, some people, it looks like they're just going crazy or they're all over the world, they're going berserk. But it's the truth that they've actually been able to develop and experience because, wow, I've been living a lie. You turn on the TV and you watch it and they say you're going to go brain dead. You're going to be a couch potato. You're going to go brain dead. Like, you are transmitting a signal out from your brain. And while you're transmitting this signal, well, where do you think it's going? The reason why Big Brother, quote unquote, is watching is because everything has give and take. So you think, and I don't like to make it sound like a crazy person or TV's watching you, but the truth of the matter is, it isn't even exchange. There's no way for you to exchange your energy, i.e., give your energy to your television, and not that television receive something back. Like, it's receiving your energy. So, well, what do you mean the TV is receiving my energy? The man behind the mask or the puppet behind the strings, the one is, that's when you're sitting there, how you feel about that television at that time, how whatever you feel about that show, all of your emotions, that's what is creating who you are. Okay, so this is how they feel at this moment. We know what to do and able to harvest it. That's what adrenochrome. If have you ever heard of? Well, I saw someone share something about adrenochrome. Adrenochrome is extracted from the brain and the pineal gland, usually, preferably by the elites, not all of the elites, but lots of elites. They prefer it to be of a child and they have to be in a fearful state because that's when it's at its highest. And that's what keeps you sharp, it keeps you thinking, and it keeps you youthful. Well, if I am able to keep you in a oblivious mind state and you have no idea that I'm taking this from you because it's extracted freely when you're, like I said, exchanging. Before, that's why people do forehead kisses or they tap their foreheads to each other. When you tap your forehead, your third eye to another person's third eye, especially to enlightened beings, like, it may not have the same effect. I've never done it with the not enlightened being, so I'm unsure of the effect it would have on not an enlightened being. But I know for a fact the power that it induces within the two of you is a direct connection. Like, if you ever seen that movie Conehead, the way they engage in intercourse is literally how we can exchange power, more not just freely, but more, it'll be strong, more intensely. And so
Now,
with
right
this
there,
regard.
you know, on the when you was talking about the calciation, um,
Mm-hmm.
and like right there where you're getting at there, a lot of what you were saying was spiritual, okay? But like, do you feel that that also uh, coincides on a physical level, like the things you eat, the things you take into your body?
Oh,
That's
absolutely. Fluoride calcifies you, anything with an immense amount of salt. And then this is something else that you have to realize as well. Okay, so the pineal gland, it was most commonly called, like I said, the third eye, but it's located in the center of the brain. It is connected to light. With your think about people that are like, I like the lights off, and they don't really like the light, a lot of lights, or they go out in the sun and it hurts them, and that's where you get the most power from. The sun is like the most powerful resource in the universe, and some people cannot stand to be in it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then you have, but and this is strategic because there's some people who can live in it and bask in it, and I'm kind of sort of in the middle. I can tolerate it as long as possible, as necessary as well. But if too much of it, it's extreme, and because it is so powerful, it is a power. But yes, you, if you could, alkaline, no diseases or any illness or any sickness can exist in anything in an alkaline state. So when you're thinking about like your diets and your foods, and the less alkaline, or well, excuse me, the more alkaline, the better. So if you're like, for me personally, there's this water. It's called Eternal water. There's a bunch of alkaline waters. Like Walmart has a 88 water. Alkaline water neutralizes your body. binaural beats. I don't know if you ever heard of these, but these isotones, they can reconstruct your cells, reconstruct. And I think me and you had this exchange before about the
Yeah.
whole body regenerated in about 2 years worth of time. And then you added more information right on a cellular level, it takes about seven. But this, I've seen different things in regards, but when you are consuming anything. Like that's why we have a digestive process. It's a matter of how well your body can consume and then release anything that you enter that enters your body. But we're taught that we have to have meat. That's a big thing. And we don't have to have meat at all. Like there's ways to get protein without meat. We can actually survive without food for 40 whole days. And in some cases longer, give or take, but we would not try that. I mean, because we're told we eat processed food. The processed food has chemicals in it that they to sustain the food to for it to last longer. Well, those chemicals are unnatural. Anything unnatural is going to, if and you're a natural being, it's obviously going to cause genetic mutation within you, and then we call it adaptation or evolution, but we're not really evolving, we're devolving. And we're doing this because we're injecting and we're just accepting that this is an easier way to do this. So I'll eat this out of the box because it's easy, it's quick, and it's accessible. Guilty is charged same as me, but at the same time, knowing better, knowing that this stuff has some type of chemical that may have an effect on me, the way you would be able to, even if you do ingest these things, counter that is to at least have a strong third eye. Because with your third eye, you can have any reality that you would like with your third eye in your control. And that's knowledge is the foundation of all things in existence. And education, we say we are going to go get an education, but education, the root word of education is educa. Educa means to bring out from, which means it's already present there. We're going to dig deep into that third eye and we're going to bring it out. They If you have never seen something before, it does not exist, and that's how you should kind of stand on with anything. If you have not experienced it, if it was not a manifestation of yours, everything, even this conversation, in some way, shape, or form, you had a thought. Everything you see, the biggest buildings that you see, the biggest whatever, robots, spaceships, whatever, it all started with a thought. Someone had to think of those things, and then it was the facilitation of that thought. The thing is, now because we have so many interceptors, we're not able to facilitate our own thoughts. Instead, these interceptors come in and they look at your thoughts and they quote unquote steal your ideas. But it's because you have no idea that your idea is actually the creation of an event or a place or a thing. Like you feel as though it's just a thought, no big deal. You're unsure that you can do this. You're unaware that you can do this. And then you, like you said, it seems spiritual, but it's not. It's biological. It is our ability to create and manifest is not a spiritual mindset, but it has been taught to be a spiritual mindset in order for it to seem to be less renowned and less utilized. So we have people that we get upset with that we call the powers that be, and they practice this type of energy manipulation. But the truth of the matter is they're just using the energy that people are freely repelling and just just disregarding. They're saying, you know what, I don't even believe in that. That's no big deal. I don't believe in God, but it's not God. You are God. You know what I mean? And you're God because you're a creator. It's not, I heard in a chat before, you guys, not you guys, because it might not necessarily be you, but they were speaking of someone who used to call themselves God. And they were like, oh, that's like having a God complex, blah, 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 blah. But the truth of the matter is, each and every one of us are a creator. And by definition, God's a creator. God, you are a God. You are God. Like, that's who you are. But I'll tell you that that type of thought process, if I'm a power that be, is unacceptable because I believe I'm God. But I'm going to tell you, no, we're not allowed to believe that. We're not allowed to stand on that so that I can control you. Now I've divided and I've conquered you from your power. So I've separated you from it and now I'm using it. And now you're wondering how I just thought about that and it's right there. Because, oh, I've been watching you for a while now. I've been draining your energy and recepting every single thing you could possibly consider for about 5, 6, 7, 8, 10,000 years.
Yeah, no, like right there
We're afraid of
when
this.
oh, like was there somebody else there?
I'm unsure. I see two up here.
Okay, it could have been just bleed back, but when you were saying receptors and some of the stuff you were discussing, the thing that really stuck out to me is like you were talking about what you were talking about, and receptors in the brain started clicking. You know what I mean? Like it's
Hmm.
like the word receptor just popped out in my mind, and I'm like, your brain has these receptors that receives information
And sends it.
and sends it right.
Yeah.
So and also, you know, the whole thing. I just wanted to hear about the physical thing because of what you were talking about, but I wasn't saying anything referring to spiritual. You know what I mean?
No
So,
idea what I did. I literally pressed the button. The next thing I knew, you were gone, and I was just like,
oh,
okay.
okay. I just
Yeah, I
wanted
had
to
no
double
idea.
check. I thought there was somebody else in here. So,
Maybe there is. You know how the
oh, it's
computer
fine.
systems work. I think you should have tagged Robot. He said yesterday he said that he didn't have internet or something. I don't know. But yeah, no. With we're message signals. We're message centers, and that's the thing that like we're computers. That's why they're able to design computers because we are the computer system in which these mimic. Our brain looks. If you look at the universe in regards to like the Milky Way and how the galaxies are formed, our fingerprints parallel it. And even within your pupils, it's like that's why your eye and you have your oh gosh, I'm gonna say the wrong thing, but Sirius. Have you heard of Sirius Planet B or whatever? Like the Sirius B. Like all of this is within your genetic makeup. But if you get too powerful, you'll realize that you're living in a simulation, being completely submissive to people that have not at all your well-being at hand. Like I said, I'm now finishing the Ring of Power, and they talk about how the United States separation and how the United States isn't even able to control the United States. That London, actually, England, actually controls the United States, and it's crazy because we fought for our independence. Allegedly, we have it. Blah 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 blah. But then there's a 13th Amendment that actually gets omitted and just disappears, and that says that England has English settlers have the right to come into our country and not only come into our country, like basically make money off of us. Like they have that right, and it's continuously, indefinitely. Nothing to have been changed, and it's all. And I don't like to say all, but it started with people, and that's why yesterday we were talking about like people come from different places. It all started with recognizing, hey, what are you doing here? What are you creating? And how are you able to do that? And people saying, I'm just talking to the universe. That sounds kind of bizarre to do, but like even with the moon, that's why the women's menstrual cycle go with like full moon phases, and there's different phases of the moon that our menstrual cycle relates to, and it's in regards to our connection to the universe. It is spiritual fact that we have no other way to define this energy, so we call it the spirit, but it really is a vibration. It's a vibrational frequency that we're emitting and we're operating on. So based on your frequency, based on my frequency, it'll either connect or it'll repel, like proton neutron type of relationship. You're going to have your negative, excuse me, electrons, and you're going to have your negatives and you're going to have your positives. Now, of course, if you have a negative and a positive, we've all done math. Negative times a positive makes a negative. Positive and positive make positive. Negative and negative make positive. So that's why really, really nasty, gross people, bad, mean people, they can all get in a group huddle and all be happy. But if you because they're all negative, it's no big deal. We're all disgusting, so it's no big deal. But if you throw something positive into it, and this is from experience, especially my marriage, like my last marriage, my ex husband's family, and I don't like to like when I say you just watch some things and you learn some things, and this is how I learned. But you throw that positive into it, it causes a disruption to the system. What do you mean we should not say this? What do you mean we should not do this? What do you mean like and it now there's a disruption. But if I'm in a group of positive people who see things from a positive point of perspective, and it's a bunch of positive energy, it's not going to be really negative until someone negative comes in and says, what y'all talk about stupid. Well, hold on, you might not agree with it. You don't have to agree with it. We're not forcing anyone to agree with our way of thinking. We know the power of our way of thinking. We recognize it, and all we're doing is giving you the opportunity to be free in your thoughts so that way you as well can understand the power in free thinking. But people think that you're attempting to impose some type of like standard or some type of belief. But how can you be against having your complete control of who you are, what you create? If you say like what happens if Monday morning everybody that goes to work, every single person that has to get up and goes to work just says, I'm not going today. I'm not going. I'm not going. Every single one though in this country. What happens? Do you feel like your boss is calling every single one of you guys and saying, you're all fired? Like, no, that's not a good business move at all. Like they're tweaking. Like, what's happening with my money? What's going on? And the reason being is because you work for them, but we tell you that this is for you. But you're in a world that nothing you do is able to be for you because your mind is not being excelled. You're not exalting your highest power. You're not even attempting to exercise it because it sounds so bizarre the way to achieve it. The way to achieve it is literally connecting with nature. That sounds so lame. That sounds like you're right. That's not going to make me powerful and walk through walls because you've tried it, right? No, but you before you went to work, I told you you can be a millionaire and move up in this building and move up in this company if you do this and you try that. And it's like, yeah, because I can see, you can see what? The money? You can't see the money. You see what I show you. You don't, I never said that I worked my way from the bottom to the top in this business and became a millionaire. I said you can. I'm not even saying that I have a direct example of this. I'm just saying that it's possible. Most CEOs did not start at the bottom. Most CEOs started owning a business. They started with a thought and they manifested it. They
Yeah.
facilitated it. And
Yeah. Now, a lot of the stuff that you're discussing too, I notice like it's really really close to the physical in reality. You know what I mean? It's like it's not that hard to jump off from to a spiritual level when you think about it like that. You know what I mean? It's pretty close to just the physical realm. You know, because like I don't really mention it too much, but like I sobered up from drugs and alcohol in 2003. I haven't had a touch of it. You know what I mean?
congratulations.
And
That's a discipline.
the the thing that I have issues with when it comes to a lot of things I hear is like you know how you were talking about the pineal gland.
Yes.
There's a group of followers that are out there, and I've had the conversation with Robot. He falls into this category too, where they think that you know using this drug, which is a mind altering drug, okay, is going to like enhance your being and make you a better person. And for me, I first of all, I had to suffer with drugs and alcohol for the earlier part of my life, all the way up from about 13 until I was 30. You know, so I understand what the pain and suffering is of actually going through that is. You know, first of all, and second of all, it's kind of like what we were talking about here. You know, you're introducing a poison into your body that your body just it rejects. It doesn't matter if you are an alcoholic or just a alcohol abuser. What you're doing is you're taking this foreign drink and you're introducing it into your body, which is a poison to your body naturally. And over time, it becomes natural. It becomes acceptable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you reconstruct your DNA, you reconstruct who you are. So
Well,
you adapt to it.
even in society, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't have a party if there isn't drinks. You see what I mean? If there, I mean, who wants to go to a party where there's no drinking? You know what I'm saying? Who wants to go to a bar if they can't drink? You know what I mean? Who
If
goes
there
to
were
a
bars
bar?
for different stuff, though, imagine like you know what I mean? Because I'm sure that if we could promote something, because I'm not a big drinker, like I'll have me a pina colada, but alcohol makes my stomach hurt. Like alcohol really makes my stomach hurt. I can't drink, and I used to drink. You know, when I went to college, turned up, and like I said, I will have a pina colada. I like pina coladas. Pina coladas tastes good. But I'm not a drinker. You know what I mean? And I used to smoke
Yeah.
weed, like the best of them. Like you couldn't pay me to not have at least like an eighth a day. But I don't even smoke weed anymore. Like this is just real. And this is still the thought process. So when we experience like certain type of trans mind states, I like different trans, like when in your, I say call them transes, like you're in a trance, but you're not really in a trance. But when you're in a different form of mindsets, a lot of the times we see stuff differently. Alcohol is one of the only quote unquote drugs that does not discriminate, and that's because it was created in order for you to oppress these feelings even more so. Like people feel like, well, I got super emotional, but the emotions will fluctuate. They could go angry, it can be really sad. But when you are high and weed especially, I know that there's usually a more mental to where you're in your mind and you're actually considering all possibilities. This is why they made weed illegal. And back when they did make it and they labeled it, they did this whole like conspiracy thing with Gorilla Glue, and it was like this whole like they had a guy like that's how they found out what we could do. And when they found out what we could do, they used Gorilla Glue when they did it. And when they found out what we could do, they were like, no, we got to keep this under wraps. And that way we can monetize off of it. They don't tell us that part, but that was the reason for keeping it under wraps because everything makes us money. And then we tell you that the money is important, you chase the money, but you get so wrapped up in that. And when we are high, we're told that, oh, they're just high. Don't listen to them. That becomes the stigma. You're just high. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm not condoning the use of drugs. Absolutely not. But I also know that people that use drugs, especially for a mind opening effect, usually have control over that usage, and what they say and the knowledge that they bring back is very much accurate. So when, and this is going to sound crazy, I was engaging with MDMA, and this was years ago. And when I did, I had a direct conversation with the Most High, which happens to be my face on fire that looks like the nighttime sky and stars in it. And I know that sounds insane, but it's the truth. So I'm told, I hear in my mind, we have to talk. Like I have to tell you something. And I go into the bathroom at my house at this time, and I'm looking in the mirror. And while I'm looking in the mirror, it's my face at first, but then God starts to speak, quote unquote, the universe. Because I always call God source, universe, God, because there's definitely misconceptions where it's like gold, oil, and diamonds. I know that story. So that's why I always make sure I'm saying the Most High. But the ultimate being in which we extract all of our power and able to sustain our existence, that's whom was speaking. And whenever this source, this power, this being would speak to me, my entire face would be on fire, but it was a blue fire. Like, have you ever seen the starriest night sky you could possibly think of with the biggest, brightest, darkest blue you could ever feel? That's what it was. And then when it was, they, and God power would ask me questions. And when it would be my time to answer these questions, my face came back, my regular face. I'm looking in the mirror and this is happening. And then when it was time for God to speak, my face was on fire again. There was no me. Like there was nothing but fire, nighttime fire though. It's not like flames and like you see the fire that you light. It was like I said, it was as if someone put the sky on fire at nighttime. And that's what you could see in me. And that's what it was. And then,
Well, for me, like when it comes to experiences like that, I know from what I've studied about it and what I've known from experience and other people around me is it has a lot to do with thresholds. You know, and when I say a threshold, it is a generalized word, but it has a meaning. You know, like have you ever thought of what the entranceway to a door is? It's a threshold down by the floor, okay? And like
yeah,
that's basically what it's referring to. You cross over a threshold. You leave one room, you enter another room, and when you're crossing a threshold, it opens you up. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of ways of achieving that ability of crossing over a threshold, and some of them are good and some of them are bad. Now, when I was involved in drinking and drugs, okay, I ended up feeling enough pain to where I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. You know what I mean? And it was either I had to freaking give it up or I was gonna die, just plain and simple. You know what I mean? And I'd crossed that threshold to where I was willing to say to myself, "Look, I don't want to do this no more." no,
enough is enough.
right, and at no time before that happened was I willing to say that. You know what I mean? And I believe that these thresholds are out there where whenever you cross over it, it kind of gives you a moment of clarity. You know what I mean?
And elevation. It elevates you. Yes.
And you were talking about having experience and having knowledge and everything, and I believe that all of those are on levels. Okay, like first of all, I think experience results directly in wisdom. Okay, I believe that with learning. Okay, there's a difference between being taught and learning. Now, when you learn, what happens is you go through different levels of learning, and like you'll go out and you'll learn stuff, and for the longest time it won't make sense to you, but then all of a sudden one day it's like you've hit a different level of understanding, so you go from learning to understanding. Okay, and
Knowledge, it actually goes knowledge, wisdom, understanding. So knowledge is the foundation of all things in existence. Wisdom is the activation of knowledge. So you learn, you know what you know, and then you do something with it. And then after you've acted upon it, then you're able to understand. That's your comprehension. Understanding is your comprehension. And that's what grants you the freedom in order to create your culture and your existence, giving you the power and the equality that most people you see in quote unquote power utilize, which is the creator, God mentality, God being, God state. And then you're able to build as well, transform, because energy, it says destroy, but energy cannot be created nor destroyed, just transferred. So you build and you transform your energy, the energy you have, you are around you, and then you're able to born. Nine is the only number of continuation that continues to born itself. Nine is nine is nine is nine, nine times one is nine, nine times two is nine. Everything with nine is nine. Nine is born and continuation. Cats have nine lives. And then you have a cipher. Then we stop there. Cipher is a continuation. The 10, quote unquote, there's no such thing as 10. There's only a zero. Zero is a cipher. Zero is when you continue again. That's why they say 360. 360, 369, 9. Nine is the zero. Zero is a cipher, a continuation. Again, like I said. And so it basically, to be born again is what eternal life is. But we're thinking of it as a spiritual level because we've monetized, again, Vatican responsible for the religions that we have here, disperse, project, and have you to believe in order for you to submit, pay for it, and think that when you hear me speak of this, it's religious, but it's not religious, it's biological. It's you, it's who you are. So your continuation, your nine, your born, your continuation, your ability to live infinitely is very much in your hands. People, death is definitely a decision. Well, people didn't choose to die. Yes, yes, they have. And people, they don't choose to die. It's just there's acts to where certain things have to happen in order for there to be a balance. And people that are killed unexpectedly against what the original plan is, they always return back. There's a they always reincarnate. And then while we're incarnate, we have positions in which we're supposed to fulfill and positions in which we're supposed to live. But again, direct connection to source teaches of God actually being you being connected to source, source being the ultimate. So your God, source is the ultimate. There's no God above you, but there is source energy power above you, and that is infinite. And that being
no,
infinite and you plugged into its infiniteness, you as well become infinite. But I'll tell you, you're going to die of a disease. If I tell you on paper, black and white, because if you think it and then you write it down, it becomes more real. The more you say it, the more you do it, it just becomes real, no matter what, regardless of how much you're against it. That's why the universe does not recognize negative. That's why you say, I can't be late. I can't be late. I can't be late. And what's going to happen is you're going to be late because the universe only hears, I can be late. Oh, if you can be late, let's take our time. You can be late. Let me throw some traffic out here for you. The universe is unable to recognize negative. We put negatives here and we talk about it like it's the norm. You'll hear me correct myself all the time because I'm learning as I go. So if I slip a donut, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I mean, I must refrain from. And it sounds like, oh, what are you talking like that for? Because what I say matters. Like, I'm not being a bitch, as I've been called. Excuse me if I'm not supposed to say that on here. I
who
apologize.
you
I'm
think you're
not
talking
being
to?
that, though.
Who you think you're talking to? I cuss people in a drunken sailor, man.
You feel me? I mean, it's not that. It's just literally our words. Words. That's why we call it spelling. Words are spells, and we are casting quote unquote spells every day as we
No,
speak. When they say life and death is in the
hold
power
on
of
a
the
minute.
tongue,
Let me
we're
let me ask you something. Have you ever heard of Carl Jung?
Carl Jung. Mm.
No.
And tell me what. Maybe I don't know the person, but I know the concept.
Carl
So,
Jung was a psychologist, and he was actually the one that coined the term the God conscience.
mm.
Have you ever heard of the God conscience?
I've heard it in a negative way. God complex. But even
No, no. The
in
God conscience is where like each individual has a little piece of God in them, and when they die or when they move on, that consciousness reunites with the greater consciousness. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And we're all connected in some way to that consciousness.
So that's the book that I've been like bragging about. This Madame Valiant lady, A Course in Spiritual Philosophy, and I shared it on my what is this stuff called X. And see, and every time I say it, I think about being on drugs. That's the only reason it's like such a hesitant. It's like I shared it on my X. Like you were on X when you did that. Like yeah, I was definitely on X. Like wow, okay. And it's just yeah, but it's A Course in Spiritual Philosophy, and it talks about the different planes of heaven, and there's no such thing as hell. Hell is what we create here on earth. But I've been saying this for years, so it's so funny because I was saying it based off of my conversation with Source in the mirror, and my face is on fire. And this lady, random lady, is writing a book about the exact same thing, and she's like, yeah, there's planes, and then how you live, quote unquote, in heaven is how you live in on earth. But so who you are in heaven is what you are on in who you are, excuse me, on earth is what you are when you go to, I say death, but death is rebirth, and rebirth is to live again. So people get offended when they're like, oh, die. But if I tell someone to die, I honestly mean that version of themselves needs to be reincarnated, and I mean that with the bottom of my entire existence, because I see things for what they are. I've told myself this has to change. I have to be someone different. I have to wake up from this life. I can no longer live like this, because we are able to continue on if we're going. Okay, so if you're in control of your entire existence, just hear me out. If you're in control of your entire existence, death is inevitable, quote unquote. But if death is inevitable and rebirth is a result of death or is actualized death, then you're able to actually reincarnate. Because if you're going to reincarnate regardless. So if you're going to reincarnate regardless, then either you're going to reincarnate or you're going to create your heaven here. So your heaven here is heaven in general, because this is heaven. Like this is heaven and this is hell. The hell is what you create, chaos and confusion, or it's your heaven, your idealism. And it's idealism only created based off of your connection to, again, that source. I know it sounds far fetched and it sounds like I'm just speaking like erratically, but it's not. The truth of the matter is, you go outside, you put your feet on the ground, you sit in the sun, you sit in the moon, under the moon, you're going to absorb certain types of, especially naked. I highly recommend naked, as long as you're not going to get in trouble for streaking. I'm just telling you from experience. How did I become so knowledgeable? How did I become so powerful about the things that actually been maintaining my existence without anything of materialism? Like, how am I able to present this type of house to my children, this type of home, these type of connections, this type of ability? Because this is what I did to get here. You sat outside naked and danced in the rain? Yes. Yes. I didn't go to work 20 hours a day. Some people do that. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. And I still made it here. So I'm telling you, it's definitely very much relevant in the sense of which it matters, and you can harvest it. And it's so much cheaper. And it's empowering, and as opposed to you becoming my slave, now you're my equal, you're my peer. I'm not making you feel as though you work for me, you work for you, and we work together. It's not a matter of I'm in control, it's we're in control. And we tell you that this is such a far-fetched idea, because then you're actually in control and you're not going to work for me, and I owe the man. I owe these people a lot of money because I got all these guns and these bombs, and you cannot get this idea and understand what you're capable of. I'm going to use this idea. I'm going to give you pretty shiny things, because the pineal gland responds to light. So the shinier, the brighter, the better. And I'm going to tell you, while you're in a trance like mindset, that this is what it is. This is what you're focused on. Whatever my pretty shiny thing is. And now I control your pineal gland. And while I'm controlling your pineal gland, you no longer have any say over what happens. And I tell you what happens. And you have no choice but to abide, because you've allowed me this access without even the thought. You gave consent.
Yeah, and when you talk about that, it makes me think of another thing that's been discussed too before was concerning mass hypnosis. You know, and a lot of people have an issue with that because they have a hard time accepting the fact that entire or societies can be influenced by mass hypnosis. You know, like 100 years ago, you didn't go downtown and see freaking beautiful glass skyscrapers standing in front of you. You know, and these are amazing structures that were built so that they could hypnotize you and make you think that, oh, this is what I want. You know what I mean? This is the
Yeah, the
kind.
symbolism, just the based off the structures, the way they're designed strategically in certain type of uniform in order for it to channel certain types of power, especially if you're looking at like places like the Washington DC. Like I'm gonna go back to channeling and just referring to the Ring of Power. I highly recommend everyone watch that movie and just think about it for a little while. And then there's the series on the men that built America. You want to watch that. The History Channel has a lot about it as well. Like there's a lot in regards to, hey, we're telling you we did this, but watch this. It's almost like they're appeasing people like me. Look, hey, you want us to tell them what we've been doing? Fine. We're going to tell them, watch these idiots not care. And they literally throw it in the face of the people and no one's doing anything. Oh, this is so scary. So do you want to go buy some more shiny things? And it's just like, no, you have to stay away from the shiny things. The shiny things are controlling you. No, 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 no. They're shiny. I have to have them. And it's like, I don't want to be controlled anymore, but I want to be empowered. But you cannot submit to the power that is minimizing you and that is draining you and think that that's going to empower you, no matter how you like to portray it. It has to be a complete separation and a rebuild of something that can stand, that's sustainable. That's like natural resources, like natural energy, like the gas and like the gold, like the stuff that's going to be here no matter how many times we blow up the earth, no matter how many times no matter how many buildings we build, like no matter what, it's going to be here. And those are the only things that we can count on. Those are the things we can count on because with or without us, they stay. And that's the stuff we should be looking at, not the stuff that depends on our existence, our thoughts, in order for it to be here. Because those things, that's how we know those are wayward and they can change. Because my thoughts change constantly. I mean, I might love you today and I don't even know you tomorrow. I mean, you never know. It's
Yeah,
certain stuff. A lot of people are like that. I'm not saying that's for me true. I'm just saying it's a possibility and it's something that I felt as though I could be able to say. And so it's
yeah,
that. You know, and you understand what I mean?
yeah.
You
It's
get
a
the
good
changes.
example.
Very good
It's a really
example
good.
because that's how people treat people. That's the life we live in. These kids nowadays, it's like no love, YOLO, and then they want to rob you. And I mean, like, it makes you not want to talk to anyone. It's like, you know what? Just stay in your corner. But if you stay in your corner, guess what? That's me harvesting your power again. If I stay in my corner and I stay away and I'm not doing my job, guess what? I'm punishing myself. And the universe is punishing me because have I not told you that you have to do this? Have I not told you that this is what has to be done? And I'm in the house having a spiritual quote unquote battle with myself. Really, is it myself though? No, because we're connected to everything. I could sit here, shut up, and listen to you louder with you talking and me not saying anything than I can by any word that you say. Most people that know me know this. They know that I can do this. I've done it on several occasions. And that's one of the things to where people get intimidated. But I'm like, hey, I don't want to do this so you. It's like my friends. I don't like reading your minds. I don't feel like listening to you. They talk to me. You should be able to talk to me. But that makes it difficult because when you're not talking to me or you're hiding something or lying, it's like, I already know. So I act according into my understanding because now I know you're not going to communicate because I already read it. I've already seen you. I've already understood that this is where we're going to be with this. So I don't have to hear it from you. And if you were going to do something different, I would have heard it from you, and then I would have been able to reconstruct my thought process. But I'm unable to because you're showing me that what I thought is what it is. And so this is just how we move because everything again starts with a thought. It
Yeah.
literally, if we could just change the way we think, we can change this whole entire world. But we're afraid to change the way we think
Well, see,
because then we have to actually think.
for me, one thing that I had to learn was this whole thing about control and manageability. Okay, like, and every single person seems to have this idea that they control shit. You know what I mean? And the truth of the matter is like there's very little that humans can actually control. Like me as a single person, I have literally no control over things. Like I can put a seed in the ground, but I can't make that seed grow. You know what I mean? I can give it water, but I can't make that seed grow. Now that seed is gonna
Have you
have,
ever seen a Dr. Emoto's experiment?
mm, but you
You
know,
ever heard of him, Dr. Emoto? He did
no.
it with water crystals. What you're saying and proved the exact opposite.
Okay, well,
Well, it's an
that's
experiment, and he did it like I said with water crystals. You
that's
can
just
grow.
one. That's just one example. Okay, and it's like can, when you're dealing with other people, for example, okay, and like with your kids or with your family, okay, and you have all these disagreements and arguments and everything. What I basically learned is like you can prevent all of those arguments from being a part of what you are by just saying, look, I have no control over those people. Now, what usually happens, though, being the people that we are, is we want to get involved in it and we want to try to be movers and shakers and try to change people, you know. And the truth of the matter is I can't change you and I can't change my sister or my brother or anybody else. What I can do is I can accept them for who they are, and I'd live a better life by doing that. You know what I mean?
You
And
have to accept everyone where they're at.
right.
Everyone. You can never expect to change anyone. If you go into anything thinking you're going to change someone, then you've already gone into it with the wrong mentality, and you're the only one who has to have the change, requires the change. The
No,
truth
no,
of the matter is, you're supposed to vibrate on a frequency that encourages people
no.
to would like to.
I can change myself. You see what I mean?
Right,
I have the
right.
ability to change myself. But this
And
kind
how
of
you deal with people, because when
this
you're on certain frequency levels, you're not going to be able to even balance with other
this kind of
people.
goes back to what you were talking about before too. Like it's about internalizing and not externalizing. You know what I mean? Like you don't get your power from outside of yourself. Okay, and
No, it's a complete cipher.
it's an inside job is basically what it is. Okay, like when I'm having frustrations and I'm having painful experiences and everything, there's a good chance I'm the one that caused it because I allowed myself to think a certain way. And when I thought that way, things didn't work out my way. Things didn't go according to my plans. You know, expectations is another thing. We have a lot of these expectations, and that's where the manageability comes into play. You know what I mean? We're going to manage shit. We're going to make things happen. And the truth of the matter is manageability is what got me into most of the trouble that I've been in most of my life is because thought I could manage people, places, and things. You know, like
See, and then that, okay. See, and so for me, it's the opposite. I'd rather not have to deal with anyone. Me personally, I would like everyone to have it together and understand how to act and be and do and on their own. Well, you cannot say how certain one is supposed to act, blah, 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 blah. No, you can. There's a standard of existence in which we're supposed to uphold. And it's a standard to which if you don't, if anything of this act that you would think about committing, if it was to happen to anyone that you hold dear to you, regardless, if it's unacceptable for just even one, the smallest one of the one, or the biggest one of the one, whichever one, if it's unacceptable for one, then it's unacceptable for all. If you can sit here and say the action that you're doing, no matter if it's done to anyone that you care, if you can say that this is okay, it's acceptable, that's how you understand you're living high quality. That's a high quality individual. That's a high quality standard of existence. You don't ever think about changing other people because, see, this is what it is. We are in control. And no one is in control of you except for your submission. Your submission is your control, in your control. That was your choice to say, you know what, I can't do anything about it. I'm just going to leave it and accept it for what it is. Absolutely. Everyone. But is it righteous, or is it a reality for everyone? No, absolutely not. Because what if Batman said that? I understand Batman doesn't exist. That was a far-fetched example. Excuse me, I apologize. I had to throw a little bit of my humor
had
because
to
I feel
go,
like this is the
had to
most
bring
serious
up
I've ever.
Batman, didn't you?
I know. Now I
There
wrote
you
Batman in, and now you got to
there you
reconstruct your whole
go.
thought process, right? No.
Batman.
But it's like, but seriously though, like if I know you're, I don't doubt it. I'm Batman. No, I'm Batman. No,
I'm listening.
Batman.
I'm listening.
Right? Okay, like let me get myself control. But no, seriously. So if you are sitting here and you're like, I don't have any control over that, you've already let go of your power. Who cares? You're right. You don't have any. I do. I do. That makes it that much stronger. These people giving up their power is ultimately, automatically giving it up to something that believes it has that power. It's automatic. It's an automatic response. You don't have it. Okay, I do. I know I do. You understand why I know I do? How do you know you do? Because I can feel it. How do you feel it? I sat outside. I went out. I rain danced. I talked to the moon. No, you didn't do that. Yes, I did. That's how I did that. There was no amount of money. My mom's a doctor. I grew up, like I said, we have a movie theater in the house at home. Well, in Jersey, it's not home anymore because no, we're not in that type of level. But my mom, she, when I say like I grew up with money, I know what it's like to have money and have experience that way. Like when the expedition came out, we were the only people to have an expedition. She pays cash for it. She just goes to the dealer and pays cash for an expedition. Gets into an argument with the Lincoln expedition people. Like I grew up in the lifestyle that everyone elevates and oh, you're whack if you don't want to live like this. I get it. I know I'm whack then. Because honestly, truth be told, I see what it does to people. I lived it, and then I got told and moved to do something different. I got told, "Hey, that's important for what it's important for, but everything has a role, and our ultimate power lies within our connection to the ultimate source. That's how we're able to continue empires. That's how we're able to reconstruct entire thought processes because releasing those obligations and those demands of or expectations of materialism creates us. We have to fill it with something. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. If I'm used to gabillions of dollars, but I don't have gabillions of dollars, I'm going to have to have gabillions of energy. It has to be replaced. What's it going to be replaced? Whatever I say, it's going to be replaced. Why? Because we're going to decalcify. We're going to decalcify so we understand what we replace it with. How do we decalcify? We're going to go outside. We're going to touch some grass. We're going to listen to that voice that we shut up. Because
Hmm.
honestly, that's your God. That's you. That's your guide. We have spiritual guides. That's why that book I said, highly recommend. We all are given spiritual guides. We're taught to ignore those voices. We create diseases that can make us money because we have monetized your power. You understand? We sell melanin for up to $550 a gram. We sell it because it's powerful. There's a lot of powerful in that brown stuff there. And it's crazy. Yeah, and it's crazy. That's why we still little melanin babies more than we still. And I'm not saying that's why. That's why we steal them. We sacrifice them, especially if their name is God. Because honestly, that's the truth. And obviously, we prove it. So it's just to the point to where you say that you don't have control, but you're the only thing that has control. If you release your control, you're definitely giving anything that's knowledgeable of how much control you actually have
Well,
power
you,
and say to use it.
the thing about control is tricky because a lot of people have a misunderstanding of what control really is. Okay, like um, when it comes to uh, being powerless, for example. Okay, um, the the
Wait,
the,
can you
the
define powerless for me, please? Please,
powerless
first, because you got to start slow for me. Yeah.
powerless means that you literally don't have control over anything but what you do. Okay, and your
What?
actions. So whenever it comes to being powerless, you literally are in a place where you have to say, look, I'm powerless over you, I'm powerless over this, I'm powerless over that. Okay, but I do have power and control over myself. I dictate
See,
how.
I don't understand how that's powerless. How is it not more powerful to have ultimate control over yourself? Because if you have ultimate control over yourself, then that means no one else does. And most likely, if you harvest yourself and your energy correctly, a lot of people wish they had that power, putting you in power. Because now people are coming to you for your powerless self because they lack that power. What you mean you're not going to let me control you? You're not going to let me boss you around? How do you do that? How do you feel as though you're important enough to say you don't have to listen to me? Where does this thought process come from? What does that not create the power that you're saying it's absent of the person without the power? Like that doesn't make I made you interested in me not having any power, but still standing here. That's power within itself.
You
Getting
see,
you to even notice.
when it I'm talking about on an individual level. Okay, you're powerless. I'm powerless to making a tree
Never accept reality
making a
for
tree.
yourself.
You see what? No, I mean seriously. Can you make a tree grow, or does it?
Yes.
Now hold
Not
on.
like okay,
Now
okay,
hold on.
okay, okay. Hold on, hold
Let's
on. Let me
break
be
this.
fair. You
Does
mean
the
just like
does
snap my fingers, make a tree grow, magic? No,
does the
I'm not
water
that powerful yet.
or does the water make the tree grow? Does the sun make the tree grow? Does
Or does
the
the tree make the tree grow? Does
yeah?
the will to live make the tree grow? I think it's that.
You see, and that's within that tree itself. I don't have the power to do that. All I can do is I can plant the seed, and from that point on, it's up to the tree. You see what I mean?
And then you have to ask the question: if you do not plant the seed, does the tree not grow? Well, where did you
Mm-hmm.
get the seeds from? You got it from the trees that were here before, right? The trees were here before us. The tree does not need us to grow. I
Right.
mean, does it help? Yeah, absolutely.
You see, but there's people who believe that they have the power to dictate if that tree can grow or not, and change it and manipulate it and do everything, and they don't understand that that's just misplaced freaking belief. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Government does it.
it's like if
The
I run
government does it.
now when you go outside and you freaking feed birds, all right? You feed birds and you put the feed down and they come and they eat it. Now, if you keep doing that on a day-to-day basis, those birds will come and they will eat that food. It's and the reason why they're doing it is because they're hungry and they want to eat. It's not because you're controlling them. You're just training them to freaking come and eat that food on a day-to-day basis.
Oh,
And
oh, hold a minute. Hold on. I'm just what?
you're
Say
just
it again. I'm
feeding
just
them.
what?
You're just feeding them.
Training them, right?
You're
That's what you
training them.
said?
That's right.
No, you said training. Yes, you
Training
said
them. Yeah.
training them. Okay, so what's the process of training? Please, what is the process of training? Elaborate,
I just
please.
explained it. It's that simple. You know what I mean? When you go outside and you throw
Training.
seeds or you throw bread down on the ground and a bird comes
Use
and
it
they
in a
eat it.
different example then.
Okay. Oh God, that's the easiest way to
Like you,
explain
okay,
that.
training. Define training.
Well, training when you turn around. Okay, like a here's a good example. Like I've mentioned this before, like with sheep. Okay. Do you know how to train a flock of sheep?
Have we heard them?
No,
You mean heard them?
how do you train a flock of sheep to be herded? Then that would be the best way of saying it.
No,
You
I don't know. I'm unfamiliar. Tell me.
now in order to
You do the same
train,
thing over and over again, right?
yeah,
Repetition. Is it repetition?
but the key
They
to it is okay with sheep. There's always the lead sheep. There's one sheep out of every herd that every single one of those sheep will follow. Okay, no matter what, they'll always do what that one does. So instead of you trying to train an entire flock of sheep, all you gotta do is pick out which one is the lead sheep, train that one, and the rest of them will follow.
But I thought you said there's no control.
No, that's
I'm just asking. I'm just
you're
asking.
training them.
Please understand
Okay,
it's just a conversation and I'm smiling. I'm so happy. Like,
you're training
but
them.
no, but
You're training
training is
them.
controlling them. You're controlling them.
No, it's not.
Why are
The
they living
reason why
freely
they're
or are they
following
under your
you,
control?
the reason why they're following you is because they're benefiting from it in some way or another. Those birds are doing it because you're giving them food. You're going out there with a piece of bread and you're throwing it down on the ground. That's all you're doing. You're not
Isn't
making
that bait?
them
Aren't you paid out? Isn't that controlling?
you're not making them come back to that spot. If they didn't want your food, they wouldn't come. You see what I mean?
Okay, so they're benefiting from it.
They're
Something you're
benefiting.
doing is giving them that. Right. Okay.
They're
Hold on though.
benefiting from it.
Hold on. Couldn't you just stop putting the food out there? You said there's no control. Just let me just stop putting the food out there.
Yeah, and they'll stop coming. But
For how long though? Because they're gonna always come back and check. Hey, I remember
are
this one
you
time I
sure?
went over there and it's feeding.
Are
Oh
you
yeah,
sure?
let's go see.
Go whenever you get a chance. Go out and feed some birds for about maybe a month, and then just stop feeding them and see if they come back to check.
I think that's a great experiment. I'm just going to tell you, like, honestly, just if you let yourself experience as much as like we let ourselves indulge with what we're told and what the norm, quote unquote, is. As much as we engage with that stuff, like like the social media and keeping up with the Joneses, as much as we do that, if we even just considered not
Yeah.
seriously, if it was just, you know what I mean, for just a few minutes and see how powerful you are. Like you were saying, I can't make that tree grow. But there are some cultures, Native American cultures, where they are so in tune with the universe that if they speak for a tree to grow in an exceptional amount of time, they're able to have that. But that's because they're cut off from our nonsense. Like the Amish, they're cut off. But I don't want to talk too much on the Amish because they got a lot of other stuff going on. But you know what I mean? It's just,
Don't
but
worry,
but 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 the
they ain't
reason
gonna
is
hear it.
because
They aren't gonna hear it. They don't believe in technology, so you can say whatever you want.
yeah, as I was say, they're not going to hear this show. But a friend of a friend of a friend. I used to go to Amish country all the time to go shop. Mommy used to take me. We'd go to Vanity Fair up in Reading and Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And so we'd go to Lancaster and we'd go to Reading. And then there's a smorgasbord. And I'd have my smorgasbord. They had some of the best fried chicken. Oh my gosh. The best. I cannot believe, I cannot still to this day believe I say that. Best fried chicken, best peach cobbler. And they was getting their money. But yeah, we go to Amish country, and yeah, so like I said, a friend of a friend, you never know. And but seriously though, it's like it's scary to think that you could literally move stuff with your mind. It's scary, maybe, so not to me, but to people to think that they could get shot in the head and live, come back to life. It doesn't make sense. Oh yeah, after the hospital, blah 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 blah. Yeah, I'll put that there for you to believe that that's the only way for something like that to happen. But it's not. I lived it. I lived it. I lived it. I lived it. I cut somebody off in traffic. He shot me in my head while I was driving. My now ex husband was there and watched me come back to life. It's kind of like if you ever watched that movie Weekend at Bernie's, and
Yeah.
he kind of like shakes every time the music comes on. He comes back. Like that's literally what happened. And like I cut him off in traffic because me and my ex were arguing, and I did like I said I was in the hood and just call it.
You there? Oh, she'll get back on here. It's like I said. This is going to be an episode dedicated to talking to Karma and kind of getting into some of the stuff that she's discussing. When she gets back, I'm going to have her speak a little bit more about the pineal gland because I think I kind of stirred her in the left field a little bit. So let me make sure she's okay on that. Let me make sure my stream's okay too so that I know. Yeah, everything's still running fine. She should be back on here. Just give her a second. She's probably still talking. Don't even realize she got cut off. Hold on a minute. believe something has definitely occurred here. Let me see real quick. I will exit full screen. I will go in the chat and see what's going on. Karma lost her internet connection, most likely. Ask her if she's alright. Now, the one thing that really sticks to me is like the premonitions and stuff, throughout history and even today. You gotta realize that, people often, notice details about certain situations sometimes, and they don't even realize that they notice it. This is one thing that does occur, and because we don't really notice the details, sometimes it's conscious and sometimes it's subconscious. So that's one aspect of it. You back?
Wait, I don't know. I didn't know I was gone. So,
Yeah, I know. I figured you were still
oof.
talking. We're gonna have to get you back on
Yeah, I
topic.
was studies working.
We're gonna have to get you back on topic because you got excited and just kept on talking and talking and talking. And didn't even realize that you left the thing, did you?
No, I heard the thing go doot, and I was just like, oh, because the thing went when I guess you texted in the chat, and I heard it. I was like, yeah, because I could do this for like hours, days, years, for infinity, and it's just, I mean, it's fun
I
to me. It feels good.
yeah, it really is. And that's why I was saying, get some time to where you can come in and kind of speak about some of the stuff you were talking about. You know, now, um, the thing too is like I was like having premonitions and stuff. That's what I was just kind of like going through. Like there's a lot of things that people have uh, experienced. Don't get me wrong, but you also gotta take into consideration that like, and it's happened all throughout history where people have had premonitions, but at the same time, there's also these people who like notice certain details about certain situations. They don't even realize that they notice it. It's just like they don't notice it consciously. You know what I mean? And there is situations where that does happen, and you notice this stuff unconsciously, and the information is then relayed from your subconscious mind into your conscious mind. So this could be through your feelings and emotions too. So there's a lot of things that are going on there.
Receptors.
Yeah, and like
We're machines.
we were talking about like pineal glands and how I was talking to you about the DMT stuff. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people think that they're actually having a conscious contact with a higher being, but the truth of the matter is there's chemicals that are being created in your brain, and you're actually creating stimuli that's making you think you're having this conscious contact with it. You know what I mean? Like, and it goes back to what I was saying about
What
internalizing.
about sober people?
Well, see,
What about people that are sober?
that's what I'm saying though. Okay, like there's externalizing and internalizing. Okay, and when I turn around and I take a foreign substance into my body, which stimulates my chemicals reactions, then that is a physical thing. You know what I mean? Whereas like most people who are sober, okay, and a lot of people get the word sobriety mixed up, being sober mixed up. Sober isn't staying away from drugs and alcohol, it's sober thinking, okay? Um, there's people who are in the Catholic Church that beat themselves with whips, and there's people that starve themselves to death because they think that it's going to make them have this epiphany and they're going to come closer to God and have a consciousness with them. You know what I mean? But the truth of the matter is, all they have to do is live a sober thinking life. You know what I mean? It's good to have your head up in the
My
clouds.
son,
It's good to have your head
my
up in the
son was a
clouds,
newborn talking to me
you know. But let
through
me.
through his mind though. Like, and he was a newborn. He never had any drugs. He never had any alcohol.
No,
And he
you were
looked me
talking
in my
about
eyes and told me,
you were talking about sober thinking though,
"N-
right? No, let me just say this one thing, and I'm
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
mute up.
yeah."
It,
Okay, go
being
ahead. I
being
apologize.
being sober is having your head in the clouds, but having your feet firmly on the ground at the same time. And
Hmm.
that's all it is. It's okay to be up there in the clouds, you know, but you need to have your feet firmly on the ground, and that's the way they think, and that's it. There's nothing more complicated about it than that, you know. It's just
So I had a son that was kidnapped, and before he got kidnapped, he told me he was going to get kidnapped. He couldn't talk. He had no words. He was only 40 days when he got kidnapped. And prior to him being kidnapped from me, he looked me in my face while I was preparing his meal, and he said, "Mommy, we cannot go back to that house. He's going to hurt me if we go back there." And he's talking about his father, who did end up suffocating my child. So it's one of those things. And he never had any drugs. He never had any alcohol. I was completely sober during my pregnancy with him. There was nothing in his genetics to make him have this ability. It was his natural born gift. He was given this ability to communicate with me through his mind. He's the reason why I understand in this ability and have been able to nourish it and even willingly nourished it, because you it's just one of those things that you either do or you don't. And like, no, a lot of it's like a lot of people don't. It's not, and like for me, because I do it so much, I kind of be happy when people kind of, I'm like, oh, okay, that's one less stump to deal with. Like, well, I don't have to deal with it. We're not even on the same plane. It's like, because when you read that book, you'll understand what I mean about like the
you
planes. Like,
said it
like
yourself.
at that point,
You said it yourself just now too, though. He had no drugs in him, nothing that could influence him whatsoever, right? Now, see, that's
and he
more
communicated with me through his mind. Yes.
that's more valid than somebody who says they've taken DMT and had a freaking conscious connection with God. I
But I
mean,
don't know what DMT is.
DMT is a chemical that these people are taking. It's a drug that freaking they take and they put it into their bodies and they go into a state where they believe that they're actually talking to God.
What does God sound like? If it sounds like me, then they are. Who do they claim to be speaking to? I was just asking.
I mean,
I mean,
they honestly believe they're talking to God. They're talking to a higher being, the universe, whatever. They honestly believe that stuff.
I
They
like to see some of these people on these drugs.
Now see,
I want to.
DMT is a chemical that's used in the brain when your body's shutting down and dying. Okay, it's not even supposed to be introduced into the system until you're at the point of death. It's what's released at the last moments of your life. Okay, and these people are going out and they're taking this chemical and putting it into their system.
What kind of what like do they do it?
Your
See,
your
I hear
body
what you're saying.
naturally
It's horrible,
produces
but I feel like
your body naturally
I just want to
produces
know what they're
DMT.
doing after it.
After it,
Like, what effect is
they
it
come
having?
out
You're
of it.
saying what they're doing. Yeah.
When they come out of it, they swear 100% that they are actually having they actually had an out of body spiritual experience with the higher being because they took this drug.
And then, but what is actually happening? Like, that's what they think happens, but someone's watching them in the physical. What's actually happening? Like, what effect is
Nobody,
it having on them? Are
I
they?
have yet to hear anybody say what's actually happening. I know there's some
Because they say
videos.
ecstasy makes people party. They say weed makes chill. Like, are they chilling with their friends and then they come out like, oh, I just talked to God, or like, I gotta see this in real time.
See, I've actually, I know that there's videos and stuff on it and everything that you can check out too.
I'm gonna look for some. Yeah.
Um,
You said it's DMT, right?
yeah, just DMT, and it's a
Hmm.
pretty interesting thing. It's something that I did take notice of before the conversation started up, but For me, I personally can't, accept the fact that that alcohol or drugs of any kind which is mind altering, is going to enhance who you are and make you a better person. I know that that's not true, and there's a lot of people whose freaking their entire lives have been ruined because of freaking thinking like that. You know what I mean? So
Thinking
that's
drugs make them a better person.
yeah,
Yeah, and alcohol. Well, no, completely, complete. Like my mom, she's so against. Like she just, like I said, she just got a bar for other people. Although she just started drinking within the last recent years. When I was growing up, my mom never drank alcohol, never consumed drugs. Although I feel as though just because of experience and looking back, though, pills might have been something that might have been something that was at least tampered with. Because I mean, at the very least, you have to be able to control your emotions.
yeah. I'm here. Are you there? You kind of. I think you cut out.
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it was just who she was. But then that's kind of worse. I would hope it would be pills. But it's like one of those things to where it's like people fear the unknown, and that's just what it is. People fear the unknown, and we're not going to attack there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You supposedly the only people, you know what I mean? People, the only people that are allowed to explore the unknown are the people that can pay for it, and that's just the truth. That's the world that we're presenting. We can go travel in space if we have enough money to, but you're not allowed to think that it's even possible if your pockets don't look the same. But that's not fair because the truth of the matter is that's how the energy is being harvested. They use us for AI. AI is distant without us. If we're not on here talking, if I'm not on my videos making my videos, they're nothing to create computers to mimic. They're not creating some new reality. They're literally altering ours and obliviating and making it useless. We'll tell you that this is what we're presenting, but in the truth of the matter is, we're hoping that you never ever give into your power. And I know the more I talk about it, especially hearing it from me, the least likely it is we're going to listen. But if that's the case, it makes the thing that wants the power more powerful. If I can get you to separate from this belief, this ideology, this even as a consideration, and this is just crazy talk, it becomes crazy talk. And then no one believes it. And then now I have 85% of the world believing that you're just insane. Whether you're one of the 1%, part of the 1% or not, I have everyone, but I'm in control of this sheep that we were talking about now. But again, they're just still just sheep. So if they're still just sheep, if it's easy for you to pull the wool over on their eyes, how would it not be easy for something that is empowering in them to actually do the same as well? Would you feel as though if people have been feeling oppressed and depressed and sad and looking for a way out, and they see a way out presented, would they not be more susceptible to kind of latch on to that as opposed to chasing something that seems to be killing? Because that's what it is, it's killing them. It's like you're running on an infinite treadmill, you're not going anywhere. You don't have flash speed, you're literally just running for me. And the more you run, the more you power my gears. The more running you do on your treadmill, the faster I go. You stay in one place and I keep going. I notice this with me a lot. People like to do this with me, but I'm in control of this. So in order for me to understand the system and why and what type of thought process is this and where it goes to, I get into the roots. I put myself on the cross. Jesus me if you must. But I'm just being sarcastic now. Truth be told though, I'll go as far as I have to get what I'm looking for. I don't really worry about what the norm is or what people are used to because
yeah.
if everyone was doing it, it
But
would not be worth doing.
with all that being said, though, I mean, it goes back to what I was talking about, and like you really have to ask yourself. I mean, do you believe that that there are and there were people who noticed like details about certain situations and didn't even realize that they noticed it? You know, like, and it wasn't on a conscious level, it was on a subconscious level. You know what I mean? And then that subconscious level freaking became conscious, and all of a sudden, you know, in your mind, you had an epiphany. But what happened was that subconsciously, your mind picked up on certain details that were going on in your life around you. You know what I
And
mean?
honestly, truth be told, look, given the circumstances and what happened after such, I can see where you're coming to as that being relatable, but it'd be different if I was not already striving. I was looking for answers, and it was basically I've been asking these questions, asking these questions, looking for my answers, and then one day someone was like, "Hey, I got them for you," because I have been looking for a long time. Like I was searching after God and
Well, I
put that.
mean,
Like
you
I
even
had
said
been
it.
doing
You
this for years.
at the beginning of this stream though. You even said it though. All the answers are still already there in your head. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yes,
So
that's how I learned that.
is it?
That's how I was able to be able to engage in this and to be able to receive it. And then it makes sense to where if I'm looking at something now, I know that these two eyes are only projecting how I see it. That's why I'll go in a situation, I'm going to see the good in it. Even if
Now,
it's not good in it, I'm going to see that first because
now
that's my idealism.
the another thing you have to ask yourself, like the information is usually sent through or relayed into your consciousness through your emotions and how in your feelings. Okay, so
Or connections, receptors.
you
That's
know,
you keep emotions or receptors. I see us as systems. We're a system. You see us as like we're these humans, these organs. These are our computer parts. We're systems, and so with us being a system, there's set signals. That we're sent signals. There's our codes. These are our codes, and we're coding each other and ourselves with our instructions as to how we're supposed to be.
you call those signals if you want, but you can also call them alarms. You know what I mean? They're setting off alarms in your mind, and and
Mhm.
it's being done by your emotions and your feelings and subconscious thoughts that are coming to the surface. You know what I mean? That you never knew that was there. It, it could be stuff like that. I mean,
It's
that's
who you are. It's who you are. It's embedded into your existence. You've been here before several opportunities. This time it's
well,
different because you have to do it right.
it could be anything. It
Signals
could
get
be
stronger as you cross through the threshold.
like when you're in a situation where you're around people and you see unusual behavior, you know, or something that's slightly off, you know what I mean, or something that just isn't right. Stuff like that could also affect it, you know. Um, it's basically your
I
ability to
understand.
listen and to learn and how to listen to those alarms when they go off in your head. You know what I mean? Being able to catch them.
Sometimes it's not in your head.
Well, everything freaking comes from your brain, your pineal gland, like
Yes.
you said. You see what I mean? I mean, and those
Yeah, no,
receptors,
we're just going 360. I told you I love to be
those
born again. Are
receptors,
you kidding me? Jesus.
those receptors are firing off in your brain. You got all that electricity flowing. You know, that's actual electrical
Electricity.
currents.
Yes.
You've got electrical currents that are
Yes.
flowing through your brain. You know,
Talk about it. You're getting me so excited. Yes. And what do we do with them?
like
What is electricity? What is electricity?
have
Tell me
you
what it is. Tell me right now.
have you ever
It's
had
power. You said we're powerless. 360, baby.
have,
360, baby. That's power. Electricity is power, baby. You said we ain't got none, but that's all we got. That's all we got. We did it. Yes. Boom.
now have you ever like had a just from listening and feeling things that occurred around you, have you ever um, had the ability to like how could I say it? Can you uh,
Just say it. I'll figure it out.
can you make a difference when it comes to personal safety? You know what I mean? The ability.
No, like hurt people and stuff. Oh, yeah. If people believe I can, yeah. I mean,
Like
I have no power over anything unless it says I have power over it. I've known people to put like voodoo and do curses. I don't believe in that. I'm a very positive person.
no,
I
I mean okay. Well,
strongly dislike negativity.
let me
Hey,
kind of explain this. This is hard to understand, or it's hard to actually say. But like, do you have this ability to freaking protect yourself? your personal safety. You know what I mean? When these things
Oh,
happen,
protect me? Absolutely, with
can
my
you,
eyes.
or you know,
With my eyes.
or is it or is it sometimes
Yes, eyes. That's why I want them
like
so bad.
weird
They can't
things
have
that
them.
happen, or is it sometimes like weird things that happen and it's just plain weird? You know what I mean? And there's no way for you to actually control it. No,
It's
that's
like
what
a
I'm saying.
spiritual, it's like a spiritual realm that surrounds.
You know, you what I'm
It's
basically like I
like
said, it's kind of hard to
like
explain. Like,
speech.
are there ways for you to protect yourself from the things that you have premonitions about, or are these just like weird things that occur and that there's no way for you to handle them? It
There's
just
no thing as a
happens.
premonition. You're not allowed to have premonition. Only, yeah, change your thought process. Don't let those things exist. You have a
Uh,
thought about it. That's nonsense. Like I said, if you send it out, something else has to come in. Replace it with something else. And it's that simple. It sounds crazy. It's supposed to be complex. It's not. Literally, yeah, okay. I've had people, like I said, they're going to kill me. They're going to, so many things. And it's just, let's laugh about it. It can't hurt. You're not going to hurt me. And if you do hurt me, I'm going to know that I only let things happen to me just so I can know who's doing it because it has to stop.
well, I'm
I've been
saying
through. I'm not going to get dark and dreary.
not other people. I'm saying the premonitions. Like there's
Yeah,
actually
you believe something's going to happen to yourself. Yeah, I know what you mean. You
you
change your
actually
thought.
can you can become hurt because of that, because of having that premonition. Something like you have a premonition that something bad is going to happen to you. Are you able to protect yourself and keep yourself safe from that, or
You
is it
mean like pushing somebody away because I have a premonition they're going to do something against me? Yeah, I usually do stuff like that, but that's like a defense mechanism. That's not healthy. That's not the right way. I know I don't do it the right way when it's that. If I was
but then
doing it the right way, I'd
but
be
then
fully engaged, fully involved in the experience.
there's other people that actually experience premonition to where it's just something weird that happens. There's no explanation for it. There's no way of protecting themselves from that kind of a situation. It's just bam, there it is.
Is it a premonition then, or is that an experience?
That's always been the big question. That's what everybody who believes in premonitions has been asking. They just don't know.
See, if something happens, it's an experience. A premonition is a thought of something happened, and we like to say, "Oh,
Well,
it's going
you
to
had
happen."
the
We
thought
live on
before
different
it happens.
timelines,
You
so
you you
it
had
has happened, and it is happening simultaneously. We're living on different timelines, so we're living. We have like that's why when you're looking in the mirror, you're basically coming to revisit one of yourself, your infinite self, actually, because we live in different realms, in different dimensions. But time is continuous. It's not linear. Like we think time is linear, but it's not. It's continuous. So since time is infinite, it's non-relevant. It's an illusion. It's literally just a continuation of your existence. You are existed in multiple different areas every single where, and everything that you think is happening it's happening. What happens is how much you're willing to embrace with it. That's why I said you alter the thought, it goes to your other dimension. If you continue the thought, it happens here. That's what it is. You have multiple yous living at the same time, but your awareness of those yous only come with your connection to source.
Now, have you ever heard of a? Here's a good thing about like something that just is weird, okay, and there's no way you have control over it. Have you ever heard of a book called The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym?
Mm-mm.
Okay, have you ever heard of Edgar Allan Poe?
Yeah, yeah, and the Telltale Heart, and he buried his wife, and yeah.
Okay, now he wrote another book. It's called The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym, and the story it concerns the character Pym. But what happens is in the story he's telling a first story, a narrative about his adventures as a shipwreck, no, as a stowaway on a ship that was involved in mutiny and shipwreck. And during the shipwreck, it ends up uh, having to do with cannibalism. Okay,
Mm.
now the cabin boy in the story, his name was Richard Parker, and he becomes the victim of the cannibalism. And the whole thing behind that is Parker suggested that each member of the crew should agree that one of them has to sacrifice themselves so that they can provide food for everyone else because they didn't have any food. All right, so everybody agrees to the suggestion, and what they have to do is they have to draw straws to determine who it's going to be that would be sacrificed for the sake of the others. Now, Parker ends up being the person to draw the shortest straw, so he's the one who ends up sacrificed for food, right?
Yeah, I bet he wish he kept his mouth shut.
Right. But this is the weird part about that. That's the story, right? Now, the thing of it is 50 years later, okay, a ship called the Niganetti, it left the port of Southampton en route to Sydney, Australia, and the ship sank. Now, when the food ran out, the crew, like in the story, drew straws to determine who would do the same thing, who would be sacrificed for the sake of the others, and a cabin boy drew the shortest straw. So they killed him, and he was used for food. Now, the thing of it was is they were rescued and everything, but the weirdest part about it is you wouldn't guess what the name of the boy was that ended up being sacrificed.
Richard,
Richard Parker.
shut the freak up. I got
Uh-huh.
chills.
And that was 50 years after that story was written.
Continuation. I told you. Infinite realities. It's so crazy too because, like, man, that's why you say what you mean and mean what you say. And if you don't mean what you say, deal with the consequences. Like I mean it. I mean all of it. That's why I don't like when people play with me because it's like I'm really very passionate about controlling my life. Like I hear what you like. It's important to me because we can all do it, and now I cannot make everyone do it. But like I'm gonna have that life because that's all I believe in. And I understand the power of me just believing in that and knowing that that's what it is for me makes it true. And like, I encourage people to think like that, but I also recognize the power that everyone else recognizes. Hey, if these people don't think like that, guess who the power goes to? So for every life that rejects what they're told, that doesn't make me less powerful. It makes them less power. It makes them sustain the power that they've been maintaining, and me able to harvest that power that they could have offered themselves with this knowledge. And so I get to use it. So now I get to be a little bit more creative or sing a little bit better, whatever it may be. I get to become the ultimate just because I believe in it. And I'm not withholding the knowledge. See, I'm not doing it like 10% of this world does to have this power, have this knowledge, and just use people for it. No, 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 no. I'm telling you, but you're telling me I'm crazy, not you. I'm just talking about experience. And you're saying this. And so I'm like, hey, well, I'm not just going to leave this. So you gonna drop all this money right here on the street? And hold on, wait a minute. You ain't gonna pick
No,
it
no,
up?
I ain't
This
dropping no
yours.
money.
No, no,
Uh,
no. But to me, it's money. It's like money. It's just like a metaphor. It's like say to me, you're gonna drop all this soul right here on the street. You're just gonna leave this here. Do you understand what you were going to be capable of? You ain't gonna pick it up. You running from it? Hold on, I'm gonna grab this. He said he didn't want it. You heard him. He didn't want it. I kind of have it. Talk to source. Oh, got it. It's mine now. Like, why? I gave it to you. No, I don't want it. It's not mine. You're crazy. Okay, all right. But who? What would just leave it all here? I'm not gonna leave this here. I know what this is worth. Give me this. And take it in the house. Be looking like I done stole something. Looking around like, whew, look what I can do, mom. And just here we go. Like for real though. And I'm not. And it sounds like I'm insane, but like I said, like it works. I've lived this life. I'm not just talking about it, and I don't even. Sometimes I don't like it because I'm different. I'm real different, and it makes it to where it's just me and the boys, and just like, but it's cool because like at the end of the day, in the beginning again, I know what I'm doing. I know
mhm.
what I'm doing, and I do it good, damn good. So.
Right. But I was just trying to bring that up because that's something that's really important for a lot of people who believe that what they're experiencing is premonition. And there's a lot of examples. Like you've heard about the Titanic, right? And the story
Yeah,
behind that.
That's such a good movie, but she knows she could have shared that door. Like it gets
Well,
more and more
you know,
frustrating.
you know that somebody actually had a premonition of that 15 years before it happened, right? They
I see,
even
and I just heard that recently. I
did
didn't
it.
know that before.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
wrote a book. It was called Futility. And 15 years before, a guy was, I think, working for a newspaper, and he wanted to write a book. So he wrote this book, and he turned it into his producer or publisher. And I don't know how it worked out if the book got published and everything like that, but what happened was is 15 years later, all of a sudden, freaking the Titanic went down, and they found out that the Titanic sank the same month even as the ship in the story did. And it sank exactly the same way. Okay, like verbatim,
Oh,
basically.
organization. I wonder if the like see stuff like that would make me feel like the designer of the boat, maybe the person that made it, especially if he wasn't on the boat. And I don't think he was, but he might have been. I don't, but yeah, because he was. He did go down. And he was kind of ticked off. Not the captain. I'm talking about the person that made the boat. It makes me wonder: did you read this book? This thought was there before.
Well,
I mean, it was
I mean,
somewhere on that boat. It was present.
nobody like read the book and decided, you know what, I'm just gonna take it. I'm gonna freaking sink the Titanic. You know what I
You don't,
mean?
yeah, no, listen. You don't listen though.
Well,
Think about how malicious. I mean, you would hope not. You would hope not. Maybe not. Maybe they thought they would not be able to. But once you put that thought there, and then if any possible, like, it's just like, ugh, if you constantly think something bad's going to happen, it's going to happen. And even if
well,
it's just that I'm not
yeah,
going to think it's going to happen, but I'm gonna think about it. Maybe
yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm still going to put my attention, my energy,
kind of
my
that
power.
that kind of goes back to the first part what I was talking to you about. You know what I'm saying? Like when you can actually, you know, pick up on things that just don't fit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like like the guy who wrote the book, from what I've heard about it, like he had some pretty general knowledge about the Titanic and what was going on during that time period, and everybody was like upscaling these ships to where they could travel faster and carry more people. And um, he had an issue against like the lifeboats not being able to actually cover every single passenger on the ship, which was a
Right.
big issue. You know what I mean? So that was a big issue for him, from what I remember hearing about it. And
So does not sound strategic? Why would you
well,
create a ship? Why would you?
at the same time though, is how could that could be something that rung out in his mind, but how could you be so precise? Like, I mean, he was precise. If you ever get a chance, man, catch get or read that book. It's called Futility.
I'm gonna put it on my book list. I have like, and I'm all over each one of them, so I haven't finished anything because I'm reading like five at a time. But yeah, I'm gonna add it to my list.
The messed up part about it was is the Titanic was what sunk, and in his book he even named the ship Titan.
Stop it.
No, I mean it was that close.
My
And
third eye is itching so bad while we're talking. It's like, and like I'm just like, oh my gosh, man, it's crazy. Cause like I don't know, when I say everything's connected, I mean it from experience and knowing this. But it's just like the way it's connected is the mystery. It's like I'd like to see and figure out the connection, the meaning of the connection. Like what would be the purpose? And see something like that, we could channel him and ask him, and we could just go talk to him, and we could say, "Hey, guy, why'd you do this? Were you aware of this book? Did you know?" And he'll tell us. He'll tell us if we ask him nicely. I mean, it depends what type of personality he is. I have to learn more about the guy to know whether or not he would even be willing to speak to us. But we can ask anyone anything about anything at any given time. And I know that again makes me sound crazy, but it's the truth.
I mean, when it comes to it, if you sit and think about it, like how much have you heard about Nostradamus? Every time you turn around, somebody's talking about him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
somebody just said that to me about me being. that one, yeah, yeah, I was like in a trading room, and then someone said that because like I trade, and I was like, I used to go to these classes, and I was saying because what he was showing me on the chart, I was like, hey guy, it's a lot lower than what you're saying. I didn't say it like that. I'm very professional when I speak to profession, and I was just like, hey, like did something right, and then they're clowning me like I don't know what I'm talking about, and it ended up dropping where I said it was going to drop. But it's crazy because I had no clue. I just thought he was. I was looking at the wrong chart. That's what they told me, but I wasn't looking at the wrong chart. I was looking at a different time frame in reality, and it was actually happening. Because it's crazy because it ended up dropping, and they were like, "Oh yeah, Nostradamus moved." That's what he said. That's the last most recent, and that was like within the last few weeks, month or so. And they said that, and like basically, you don't know what you're talking about. That's not about to happen. It happened, and it was crazy to me because it's just like it happened. But did I emphasize on the fact that it happened? But like it's just wild because I saw the reason I heard of him. And then Dave Chappelle did a skit about nigger diamonds. And that's funny. So it was like, it was, I mean, like, that's how I know him. I don't really know. I hear the jokes, like he predicts the stuff that's going to happen or whatever, 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 whatever. Yeah. So maybe, I don't know. And I like to stay away from people that I parallel with so I can see how much energy is really just me and then what I'm getting from everyone else because I like to know how much I can do and then how where necessary. It's just one of those things. And then I recognize my limitation. I mean, like if I'm disconnected from materialism, I'm going to need some help with materialism. But I can also bring as much power and energy as it possible is when it comes to the spiritual. And like that's just real. And I mean, like I know who you are is a big, very big, important step in being able to be in control or powerful. Because I mean, if I didn't know who I was, you're going to tell me who I am, or somebody's going to tell me who I am, and I might believe them.
Yeah. Well, now that we have you calmed down, I'm
I know, right?
I'm gonna say we really do need to kind of bring this to an end. It's like over an hour and 45 minutes.
Thank you so much. It was so fun. You talked about my most favorite subject in the whole entire world, and it's us. And it's just like us as people and just like infinite possibilities. So thank you so much. And I will look forward to conspiracy theories tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye.